Welcome to those who are joining. Hello, Kim. Hello, Luke. Hello, Chris. From Shenandoah National Park. That sounds beautiful. Hello, Maria. Welcome. Oh, there we are. Okay. Hello, Gregory. Welcome. Thank you. So, as we have been doing, I don't wait anymore for like the 5 minutes. We'll just go right into the chant. Hello, Rachel Krebs. This is a name I'm not familiar with. Is this your first time, or do I know you as somebody else? Hello, Corey. Oh, well, welcome. Glad for you to be here. All right. So let's share screen. Oh, this what you call it, streaming UI has changed, so now I have to try to figure out. There we go. Okay. See, I guess like a chanting book. All right. Very good. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Attiko tena bhagavata janata passata arahata samma sambuddhena panchathanani sammadakkathani yang abhinnang paccavakkittabhani ittiyava purisena va gahatena va pabbajitena va katamani pancha jaradamo me jaranganati toti abhinnang paccavakkittabhang vyadidammo me vyadinganati toti abhinnang paccavakkittabhang marana dhammo me marananganati toti abhinnang paccavakkittabhang sabehi me piyehi manapehi nanabhavo vinabhavoti abhinnang paccavakkittabhang Kammasakomi, Kammadayado, Kammayoni, Kammabandhu, Kammapatisarano, Yang Kammankarissami, Kalyanang va papakang va tassadayado bhavissamiti, Abhinhang Pachavekittabhang. English? Dhamma is to be reflected upon always. 5 things that have been well taught by the Sublime One who knows and sees, the Worthy One, the perfectly enlightened by himself. These are subjects always to be reflected upon by woman or man, householders or those who have gone forth. What are the 5? I am of the nature to decay. I have not gone beyond decay, is always to be reflected upon. I am of the nature to be diseased. I have not gone beyond disease, is always to be reflected upon. I am of the nature to die. I have not gone beyond death, is always to be reflected upon. All that is mine, dear and delightful, will change and vanish, is always to be reflected upon. I am the owner of my karma, heir to my karma, born of my karma, related to my karma, abide supported by my karma. Whatever karma I shall do, whether good or evil, of that I shall be the heir. It's always to be reflected upon. Oh, hello, Diane. Welcome. Diane, is this the first Dhammapalooza you've been on with us? Diane is a friend from Colorado who I met recently when I was there last in Fort Collins. Let's see. Very good, Chris. All right, friends. Well, we should do our meditation because we're already a little bit past time. And then I see Gregory has a question. We can save all questions and discussion until after the meditation. We'll do about 25 minutes or so, maybe half hour-ish, somewhere around there. Ah, hello, Wasabi-chan. It's been a while. Good to see you. All right. Close your eyes, set your body up in whatever comfortable and stable position works for you. We'll start by doing a mindful scan of the body, starting from the feet and moving up to the head. Begin by placing your focus on the feet, focusing in and being mindful on whatever feeling arises there, such as the feeling of the feet pressing against the floor, the cushion, the opposite leg, etc. Move up through the ankles into the calves. Through the knees and into the thighs. Or is the feeling of the thighs pressing against the chair or the cushion? Up through to the hips and pelvis. The angle and position of the pelvis is a very important part of the posture to pay attention to. can impact both the lower body and the spine as we start to move up. We'll pay close attention to the angle of the pelvis. If you're sitting on a meditation cushion, pay close attention that the sits bones, the bones of the buttocks, are level and balanced on the cushion. If one is higher than the other, this can cause the spine to bend and jank. The main reason to do this practice is to develop a deep understanding of your body and posture, which will allow you to set your body up to sit longer periods of time with less pain and discomfort. When you're ready, move up the spine, through the abdomen and the chest. Checking that the spine is also not leaning or slouching. This is the case even if you are sitting on a chair with a backrest. And the spine is leaning or slouching, this can cause constriction of the breath, a major cause for back pain after sitting for a while. Also make sure that you're not trying to force the spine to be very straight. This can also be a major source of back pain. Ideally, you want the spine just to be resting in its normal state, its natural curvature. Move up to the shoulders, checking they're hanging loosely, not scrunched up and tight. And then down through to the elbows and hands, observing the position of the elbows and hands, how that also impacts your spine, your posture. And finally up to the head, checking that the head is also not leaning backwards or forwards, to the side, chin parallel to the floor. And then once you're done setting up your body in a comfortable and stable position, let the body go and take 3 deep breaths. Then let the breath go. From here on in, try not to manipulate or control the breath in any way. Your body has been breathing from the moment you were born, will continue to do so until the second you die. Doesn't need you to do its job. Your job is to simply observe, investigate, and abide with the breath as the body breathes in and the body breathes out. As you're following your breath, your mind will become bored. Will seek to run away to the past or the future, across the world, into various fantasies, or an external distraction like a sound will arise and your mind will become agitated and chase after it. Whenever this happens, you will be lost in thought worlds, oblivious, with no mindfulness left on the breath. But eventually it will slowly start to dawn on you that you have been taken away from the breath. At that point, try to come back to full mindfulness and focus. Acknowledge that you've been taken away from the breath. Practice letting go of the distraction if it's still there by neither getting agitated and trying to push it away, nor by continuing to be excited and infatuated by it. See if you can do your best to let it go, to let it be, to give it no effort, energy, or attention. And then, Return to the breath. Doesn't matter how many times you get distracted away, just acknowledge, let go, and return. No need to get frustrated. You didn't fail as a meditator or do anything wrong. It's simply the mind showing you how it works. Acknowledge, let go, and return. Bring your mindfulness back to the breath as the body breathes in and out. Acknowledge, let go, and return. Acknowledge, let go, and return. Always come back to the breath. The breath is home base. It's always there doing its thing, ready for you to follow it towards a more calm and tranquil mind. Slowly start to open your eyes, becoming aware of the room around you and your body's position in it, reflecting on the state of your mind before and after the meditation, and contemplating any experiences that stood out during it. And while you do that, I'll welcome everybody. It's Monday night, and Monday night means it's another time of it's another Dhammapalooza, which is a festival of Dhamma for the Magasiga community, where we come together, do a variety of different Dhamma-related activities. This is the first one in 6 weeks, 6 or 7 weeks, because I remember like before I left for California, we didn't get one either. Ah, Venerable Aganya, welcome. Aganyana, I mean. There you go. All right, I gotta get back. I'm blurry. All right. So usually what we do at this point is I give a little a couple minutes Dhamma, like a practice tip. And so today's practice tip, and by the way, if you have any suggestions for practice tips, please do give them to me on the Discord or wherever. I do want to have this as a section in Dhammapalooza as we go along. But the section for today, the topic is going to be investigation, Dhamma Vichaya. There's also Vimamsa. So Dhamma Vichaya is the second factor of awakening. Investigation is a extremely important part of Dhamma practice, right? You need mindfulness, which is the first factor of awakening, to start to recall and remember, and to start to focus and to observe, right? When you're mindful, you start to see things that you haven't seen before, and then you want to investigate. And so it's important to kind of develop the mind state that every experience you have, you can investigate. You can learn about. Now, how exactly do you do that? Anger arises. Why? That's the first. That's like, why? Why did it arise? That's a line of investigation. Right? As we're starting Morning Monastery Experience back up again. Speaking of which, by the way, Morning Monastery Experience now has a half-hour of meditation afterwards. So it's an hour long. The first half is going to be like the literal, puja that you find at a monastery in the morning, and then we're going to have a half-hour meditation after that. This is a feature that had been requested multiple times in the past, but I'm only just making it part of Morning Monastery Experience now. But when those of you who've been to MME many times, we've gone through this, because it takes like a couple of weeks to get through this pass of the Mahasatipatthana Sutta, where it goes this is where craving arises when it arises, this is where it ceases when it ceases. Right? So the Buddha is actually giving you points and tips. This is where you investigate. This is in your mind. Anger, lust, hatred, resentment, whatever. Why? That's the first point of investigation. Or you could also investigate how. It kind of leads the same way, right? So you're investigating, you're trying to track back the causes and conditions that led to that experience arising. And then maybe even you can observe the causes and conditions that lead to that experience ceasing. This is arising, this is ceasing, and you investigate those two, the beginning and the end. And then from that point on, you learn more, you see more, and then you can investigate more. You're always questioning, always trying to see deeper. Dhamma Vichaya is investigation of all phenomena, investigation of all dhammas. So this is from the gross to the subtle, to the large to the small, investigating every kind of experience that you experience in this life. And if you're able to do that with mindfulness, you can develop the other factors of the factors of awakening, and you can become awakened. So, all right. So now that we're done with that, so let's see here. Rachel, are you still with us? If you're still with us, Rachel, I'd like to know how you found the channel. If anybody has any questions or would like me to talk about anything, this is also a good time for that. If not, then we'll just do our normal reading of suttas. Gregory doing a good job of remembering to recall the 5 remembrances or the 5 recollections. Oh, you are an insight timer. Very good. Very good. This is I'm always quite happy when somebody from Inside Timer makes the jump because it's not that often. It's every week. This week was a record, 172 people. That was crazy. I was not expecting that. Um, but a lot of people end up showing up on the Saturday, but they're comfortable where they are. Right? They're not going to go to other places. They have me on Insight Timer every week, so that's where they'll see me. So it's a rare occurrence when somebody else makes the jump over. So welcome. Let's see. Gregory asks where I'm staying for Vasa. I'm staying with my father for Vasa, which, if all goes well, this will be the last Vasa not in Colorado. So if things are progressing, it's looking promising. Hopefully, this time next year, I will be living at Magaseka Vihara in Colorado. The little studio apartment where maybe I could have 4 or 5 people come over for Dhammapalooza or meditate or something. But it will be quite a small thing, at least to start out. And then hopefully it'll grow from there and we can get a little bit of a bigger place and we can have monks and people wanting to ordain come stay and grow from there. We'll see. Let's see. Am I making any specific determinations? No, no, I don't make determinations. I don't make vows. I don't make resolutions. Uh, these are always kind of, I mean, they can be useful, but you have to kind of know how to use them in a very short-term, skillful way. Because most people are not going to, in the long term, actually be able to follow through with these, right? Actually be able to um, stick with them in the long term because they're often based on willpower, not necessarily wisdom. And so when when you develop the wisdom to understand the causes and conditions of things, you just focus on the causes and conditions. Like when I was, years and years ago, when I was dead set, I'm going to be awakened in this lifetime, and I'm going to, have this zealousness. And as I got understood dependent origination more, as I understood things better, I realized, well, I don't know if I can become awakened in this life. It depends on the causes and conditions. I might try the hardest I can, and then maybe I awaken next life, who knows? But what I do know is to become awakened, you need to develop the Noble Eightfold Path. So that's my focus. My focus is every day, am I developing the Noble Eightfold Path? Am I actually practicing and developing? Maybe I'm also failing and not doing so well, but am I sincerely trying? Am I sincerely doing the best practice I can do every day? And if that's where I'm at, that's where I'm at. If the answer is yes, if the answer is no, then I need to kick it up a bunch of notches. But if the answer is yes, then I'm progressing. Doesn't matter how slowly or how fast, as long as I am creating the causes and conditions for whatever I'm trying to bring about, then that what I'm trying to bring about will occur. It will happen in this life or the next life. It's like building Magaseka in Colorado, right? I've been trying for these past 3 years, I've been trying to build the causes and conditions. And I have some intuition and some insight. I think it'll happen. It probably won't happen exactly how I think it's going to happen, but I think it's going the right direction. We'll have to see. Oh, you're actually holding the Vasa for in some extent. That's interesting. Very good. Right? This is my Vasa. So the first one, I tried to meditate every day. Now I rarely miss a day. It did develop into a lifestyle habit. Very good. Very good. Well, one of the things that I have to do is um, when I'm in the home that I grew up in, where my defilements and my and my habits were created, essentially, um, that's always a battle with Mara. It's a nonstop, 24/7, 3 month battle with Mara, and that's what I'm in right now. So I'm doing pretty good. Right? I've rebuffed Mara's attacks, and I've been on the offensive. I'm doing pretty good, but it's going to be back and forth. We'll see how it goes. But it's like that the meme where the monk, the junior monk, the senior monk goes, you have reached the end. You have reached your final test." And then the next uh, box in the comment is the monk at home with his family, the final test. So yeah, it's interesting. When you know you're going into Mara's den, you have to be prepared. That's just how it goes. Right. Yeah, I don't see any other questions or comments coming up. So maybe we can start the sutta. I'll still give it a minute just in case, but if you have anything, you can put it in the chat. But let's see, share screen. Majjhima Nikaya 13. We probably won't finish this today. We'll finish it up next week probably. We'll see. The longer discourse on the mass of suffering. So Rachel, I don't know your background or your knowledge of Buddhism, but I'll explain here. When we read a sutta, what we're reading is from the Pali Canon. What we're reading here is the the early Buddhist texts, meaning the text from a time before there was different types of Buddhism. So when we read a sutta, we're reading the closest to the Buddha's words that we will ever get. And there's been some good arguments made by EBT scholars that there's most likely a good chunk of what we see in the suttas is basically directly the Buddha's words, faithfully recorded. So when we read the suttas, it's not for like an intellectual knowledge. It's to help us understand how to practice and how to gain insight and wisdom. So I'll read this, and if you have any questions along the way, anybody, questions, comments, anything you want me to discuss a little bit more as I'm going through this, you can type that in the chat, and I'll give commentary as we go along. So this is the Buddha explaining the mass of suffering. So I have heard at one time the Buddha was staying near Savatthi in Jeta's Grove in Anathapindika's monastery, where I was about 7 months ago. A wonderful place. Then several mendicants robed up in the morning and taking their bowls and robes, entered Savatthi for alms. Then it occurred to them, it's too early to wander for alms in Savatthi. Why don't we visit the monastery of wanderers of other religions? So very briefly, actually it doesn't, yeah, like I said, we're not gonna finish it today, but the, and this is just for Rachel and others who might not know the, kind of the culture at the time. So the time of the Buddha, there were kind of like um, the Brahmins and the kind of regular uh, caste system people, and the kind of dominant culture. And then there were the samanas. These were men and women who kind of left regular society and they kind of went into the wilderness and they're trying to figure out a way to enlightenment. And so there's lots of different samana groups. The Jains, if you know what the Jains are, the Jains were a samana group, a little bit older than the Buddhists. They were already established when the Buddha came along, and there's some others. So what is happening here is that these monks have decided to go to, it's too early to go into the village, into the city to get food from the lay people. So they go to another monastery to kind of discuss and to meet with other samanas, other religious renunciates. Why don't we visit the monastery of the wanderers of other religions? Then they went to the monastery of the wanderers of other religions, exchanged greetings with the wanderers there. When the greetings and polite conversation were over, they sat down to one side. The wanderers said to them, "Reverence, the ascetic Gotama." So this is the ascetics of other religions telling this to the Buddhist monastics. The ascetic Gotama advocates the complete understanding of sensual pleasures, and so do we. This is also kind of a wonderful thing. Like, in my experiences as a monk, I've been able to kind of hang out a little bit both with obviously other, this monastics from other sects like Mahayana and Vajrayana. But I've also been able to hang out with like Catholic monks and things like that. And even though kind of what our study and our practice can be very different, there's this kind of camaraderie that you get from somebody who is kind of like a celibate monastic, right? And so it's always nice to kind of be with those people. So like this is, one of those things where these Buddhist monks are like, well, let's go hang out with these other wanderers, because those other wanderers were also going for alms in the city. Maybe they're just kind of hanging out until the time. So they went to have some discussion. The ascetic Gotama advocates the complete understanding of forms, rupa, and so do we. The ascetic Gotama advocates the complete understanding of feelings, and so do we. What then is the difference between the ascetic Gotama's teaching and instruction and ours? And so this is a very wise thing that the Buddha teaches, and that you see in the suttas. This is something that we all should do. Those mendicants neither approve nor dismiss that statement of the wanderers of other religions. They got from their seat thinking, we will learn the meaning of this statement from the Buddha himself. All right, so they didn't say that's wrong or that's right, or get involved in identity view or in disputation. They just said, oh, you know what? Let's ask the Buddha. Then after the meal, when they return from alms round, and in the suttas also, you'll see the Buddha actually giving this as a recommendation, even for after he's gone. You said you do not approve or reject, you kind of check what they say against the suttas. So then after the meal, when they returned from alms round, they went up to the Buddha, bowed, sat down to one side, and told him what had happened. The Buddha said, mendicants, when wanderers of other religions say this, you should say to them, but reverence, what is the gratification, the drawback, and the escape when it comes to sensual pleasures. The gratification, the danger, and the escape. This is another way of investigation, right? As we were just talking about before, right? You have an experience, or you react to an experience. Why? Something is being gratified, right? Whether it's a sensual pleasure or whatever, there's something is being gratified. And it could get even deep, like why do people hurt themselves? Why do people cut themselves or do all kinds of stuff, right? Even if it's kind of a negative gratification, they still might get some kind of a gratification from that. And then there's the downside, the danger, the drawback of doing that action or reacting in that way. Then there's the escape. So this is a very important way of mindfully investigating your experience. So what's the gratification, drawback, and escape when it comes to sensual pleasures, when it comes to forms, when it comes to feelings? Question like this, the wanderers of other religions would be stumped, and in addition would get frustrated. Why is that? Why is that? Because they are out of their element. I don't see anyone in the world with its gods, maras, and divinities, this population with its ascetics and Brahmins, its gods and humans, who could provide a satisfying answer to these questions, except for the realized one, or his disciple, or someone who has heard it from them. And what is the gratification of sensual pleasures? All right, Samanera, good to have you. I'm glad you stopped by. Practice well. There are these 5 kinds of sensual stimulation. What 5? Sights known by the eye, which are likable, desirable, and agreeable, pleasant, sensual, and arousing. Sounds known by the ear, smells known by the nose, tastes known by the tongue, touches known by the body, which are likable, desirable, agreeable, pleasant, sensual, and arousing. These are the 5 kinds of sensual stimulation. The pleasure and happiness that arises from these 5 kinds of sensual stimulation, this is the gratification of sensual pleasures. And what is the drawback of sensual pleasures? It's when a gentleman earns a living by means of such as arithmetic, accounting, calculating, farming, trade, raising cattle, archery, government service, or one of the professions. But they must face cold and heat, being hurt by the touch of flies, mosquitoes, wind, sun, and reptiles, risking death from hunger and thirst. This is a drawback of sensual pleasures apparent in this present life, a massive suffering caused by sensual pleasures. When that gentleman might try hard, strive, and make an effort, but fail to earn any money. If this happens, they sorrow and wail and lament, beating their breast and falling into confusion, saying, "Oh, my hard work is wasted, my efforts are fruitless." This too is a drawback of sensual pleasures, apparent in this present life, a massive suffering caused by sensual pleasures. That gentleman might try hard, strive, and make an effort, and succeed in earning money, but they experience pain and sadness when they try to protect it, thinking, "How can I prevent my wealth from being taken by rulers or bandits, consumed by fire, swept away by floods, or taken by unloved heirs?" And even though they protect it and ward it, rulers or bandits take it, or fire consumes it, or flood sweeps it away, or unloved heirs take it. They sorrow and wail and lament, beating their breast and falling into confusion. What once was mine is gone. This too is a drawback of sensual pleasures apparent in this present life, a massive suffering caused by sensual pleasures. All right, Rachel, have a good night. Glad to have you with us. Hope to see you again. All right. Furthermore, for the sake of sensual pleasures, kings fight with kings, aristocrats fight with aristocrats, Brahmins fight with Brahmins, and householders fight with householders. A mother fights with her child, a child with mother, father with child, and child with father. Brother fights with brother, and brother with sister, sister with brother, and friends fight with friends. Once they've started quarreling, arguing, and disputing, they attack each other with fists, stones, rods, and swords, resulting in the death and deadly pain. This too is a drawback of sensual pleasures apparent in the present life, a massive suffering caused by sensual pleasures. Furthermore, for the sake of sensual pleasures, they don their sword and shield, fasten their bows and arrows, and plunge into battle, massed on both sides, with arrows and spears flying, and swords flashing. There they are struck with arrows and spears, and their heads are chopped off, resulting in death and deadly pain. This too is a drawback of sensual pleasures apparent in the present life, a massive suffering caused by sensual pleasures. Furthermore, for the sake of sensual pleasures, they don their swords and shields, fasten their bows and arrows, and charge wetly plastered bastions with arrows and spears flying and swords flashing. There they are struck with arrows and spears, splashed with dung, crushed by superior force, and their heads are chopped off, resulting in death or deadly pain, or death and deadly pain. This too is a drawback of sensual pleasures apparent in this present life, a massive suffering caused by sensual pleasures. The Buddha keeps going on with this, huh? There's lots of drawbacks. That's how it goes. Actually, let me go back to that. No, that's not what I wanted. Yeah, that's... Oh. Yeah, we'll do this. That'll be good enough. Make it bigger. Hello, Yap. This is a name I'm not familiar with, but I guess I know you in some other way, probably. By some other name. Furthermore, for the sake of sensual pleasures, they break into houses, plunder wealth, steal from isolated buildings, commit highway robbery, and commit adultery. The rulers would arrest them and subject them to various punishments. Ah, the good old list of all the punishments. Okay. Whipping, caning, and clubbing, cutting off hands or feet, or both, cutting off ears or nose, or both, the porridge pot, the shell shave, the rahu's mouth, the garlands of fire, the burning hand, the bulrush twist, the bark dress, the antelope, the meat hook, the coins, the caustic pickle, the twisting bar, the straw mat, being splashed with hot oil, being fed to dogs, being impaled alive, and being beheaded. These result in death and deadly pain. This too is a drawback of sensual pleasures apparent in this present life, a massive suffering caused by sensual pleasures. Furthermore, for the sake of sensual pleasures, they conduct themselves badly by way of body, speech, and mind. When their body breaks up after death, they're reborn in a place of loss, a bad place, the underworld, hell. This is a drawback of sensual pleasures to do with lives to come, a massive suffering caused by sensual pleasures. This is a pretty strong argument, wouldn't you say? The Buddha gives lots of drawbacks, lots of reasons not to indulge in sensual pleasures in an unmindful way. And what is the escape from sensual pleasures? The escape is always the same thing, no matter what it is. Removing and giving up desire and greed for sensual pleasures, i.e. letting go. This is the escape from sensual pleasures. There are ascetics and Brahmins who don't truly understand sensual pleasures, gratification, drawback, and escape in this way. for what they are. It's impossible for them to completely understand sensual pleasures themselves, or to instruct others so that practicing accordingly, they will completely understand sensual pleasures. There are ascetics and Brahmins who do truly understand sensual pleasures. Gratification, drawback, and escape in this way for what they are. It is possible for them to completely understand sensual pleasures themselves, or to instruct another so that practicing accordingly, they will completely understand sensual pleasures. And remember, the Buddha is not saying to ignore or avoid sensual pleasures. The Buddha is telling you to know them. The only way out of them, the only way through them, is to let go. And the only way you let go is by gaining wisdom and understanding and the gratification and the danger. Both ends. You have to know why you get gratification and what are the drawbacks of chasing after, trying to acquire these gratifications. And once you understand both ends, just naturally, with wisdom and insight, you naturally let go. Boy, it's nice and pleasurable. It's not bad, but then I get killed. Then I have to deal with the acid pickle in the porridge pot or whatever, right? So it's like, it's understanding both ends. Deeply understanding all aspects of the experience so that you realize, you see it for what it is, and you naturally let go. All right. And what is gratification of forms? Let's see, where are we? 806. I think we're going to end here in this because we have a few other things to do. End the sutta here, not the stream here. We're still going probably for another 20 minutes or so. But we will continue with that next time. I was thinking when I was at Abhayagiri, actually, I was one of my afternoon kind of things that I ended up doing was hanging out at the MUB, this monastic building up on top of the mountain, and just looking at, have this beautiful view of the valley. And I was just reading the Therigatha, the Thera and the Therigatha. And I thought, that might be a neat thing, because I don't know, most lay people probably haven't really read them. They might know what they are, but I think it would be kind of neat to have like a little section where I go through a couple lines of the Thera and the Therigatha. So the Thera is a senior monastic monk. Next year, at my 10th Vasa, I will be a Thera. Although that doesn't, nobody calls me that. That's just like I'll still be Bante J. That'll be the same thing. And when a woman is 10 years as a bhikkhuni, then she becomes a Theri, right? So Thera Vada is the doctrine or the creed of the elders, right? So this Thera. So what you have here in these two, the Thera and the Theri, are men and women monastics, both awakened or not awakened, kind of talking about their struggles, talking about their practice, things like that. So it's very beautiful things. I think that would be, something that people would enjoy. So I just have to actually bring these up, then we can read them. They are found in the Khuddaka Nikaya, which is the 5th Nikaya, the Nikaya of small books. This is where you find the Sutta Nipata and the Itivuttaka, the Udana, etc., etc. All right, so let me just break up That's all right. All right, let's share screen. We're in the Therigatha. And so these are all named by the bhikkhu or the bhikkhuni that the words are attributed to. So this would be Bhikkhu Subhuti. Like the lions of mighty fang. Oh, by the way, they're verses, so it's mostly it's poetic writing. Like the lions of mighty fang who roar in mountain caves. Hear now from those who practice well their own verses about themselves, what their name and what their clan and how they lived by teaching, how dedicated were those wise ones as they meditated tirelessly. Clearly discerning in every case, they reach the state that does not pass. Reviewing their completed task, they spoke about it in these words. Subhuti. My hut is roofed and pleasant, sheltered from the wind. So reign heavens as you please. My mind is serene and freed. I practice wholeheartedly. So reign heavens as you please. Mahakota. Calm and still, thoughtful in counsel, not restless. He shakes off bad qualities as the gale shakes leaves off a tree. Revata, the doubter. See this wisdom of the realized ones, like a fire blazing in the night, giving light, giving vision. They dispel the doubt of those who come. I think we'll switch over to the Therigatha. Read the first couple of the bhikkhunis. An unnamed nun. Sleep softly, little nun, wrapped in the cloth you sewed yourself, for your desire has been quelled, like vegetables boiled in a dry pot. Mutta, first. Mutta, be released from your yokes, like the moon released from the eclipse. When your mind is released, enjoy your alms, free of debt. So this is a very common reflection in the suttas, in the Vinaya. Monks are debtors, right? Until you become awakened, you have not paid off your debt. You owe a debt to the people who support you, who give you dana, right? Who give you food and clothing and medicine and shelter. You have a debt to them. So a monastic should, because it can be that if held in a wrong way, you can take it, you can become like, oh, I deserve these things. Like you can kind of, you can become complacent in your practice and you can take it the wrong way and stuff like that. So this is why me personally, from the beginning, like, when I first became a monk, I was like, I'm a debtor. I don't know if I'm going to spend the rest of this life as a debtor, or maybe I'll be free of debt in this life. But, I owe a debt of gratitude and support to those who support me. Right? And how I support is by being there for people if they want to talk to me, and by sharing the Dhamma, being available to share the Dhamma. Right? That's how I do support as a monastic, and also obviously my own practice too. That's also how obviously I pay off the debt, because I said when you're awakened, you no longer have debt. So the next punya. So we were just on punna, which is the male, and punna is the female. So punna, be filled with good qualities, like the moon on the 15th day. When your wisdom is full, shatter the mass of darkness. Tissa, there's also a tissa. Tissa and tissa, right? Tissa, male, tissa, female. Tissa, train in the trainings. Don't let your yokes overcome you. Unyoke from all yokes. Live in the world free of defilements. Another tissa. Tissa, apply yourself to good qualities. Don't let the moment pass you by, for if you miss your moment, you'll grieve when sent to hell. What number is this? 5? All right, let's do 6. And then I think we'll do Dhammapada, and then we'll start to close out. Dhira. Dhira, touch cessation, the blissful stilling of perception, win extinguishment, the supreme sanctuary from the yoke. All right, let's bring up Dhammapada. Craving. The craving of one given to heedless living grows like a creeper. Like the monkey seeking fruits in the forest, he leaps from life to life, tasting the fruit of his karma. Whoever is overcome by this wretched and sticky craving, his sorrows grow like grass after the rains. But whoever overcomes this wretched craving, so difficult to overcome, from him sorrows fall away like water from a lotus leaf. This I say to you, good luck to all assembled here. Dig up the root of craving, like one in search of the fragrant root of the birana grass. Let not Mara crush you again and again, as a flood crushes a reed. Just as a tree, though cut down, sprouts up again if its roots remain uncut and firm, even so, until the craving that lies dormant is rooted out, suffering springs up again and again. The misguided man, in whom the 36 currents of craving strongly rush towards pleasurable objects, is swept away by the flood of his passionate thoughts. Everywhere these currents flow, and the creeper of craving sprouts and grows, seeing that the creeper has sprung up, cut off its roots with wisdom. Flowing in from all objects and watered by craving, feelings of pleasure arise in beings. Bent on pleasures and seeking enjoyment, these men fall prey to birth and decay. Beset by craving, people run about like an entrapped hare, held fast by mental fetters. They come to suffering again and again for a long time. Beset by craving, people run about like an entrapped hare. Therefore, one who yearns to be passion-free should destroy his own craving. There is one who, turning away from desire for household life, takes to the life of the forest, of a monk. But after being freed from the household, he runs back to it. Behold that man, though freed, he runs back to that very bondage. That is not a strong fetter, the wise say, which is made of iron, wood, or hemp. But the infatuation and longing for jewels and ornaments, children and wives, that they say is a far stronger fetter, which pulls one downward and, though seemingly loose, is hard to remove. This too the wise cut off, giving up sensual pleasure, and without any longing they renounce the world. Those who are lust infatuated fall back into the swirling current of samsara. Like a spider on its shelf-spun web, this too the wise cut off. Without any longing, they abandon all suffering and renounce the world. Let go of the past, let go of the future, let go of the present. All those people, all of you have heard all these years, let go of the past and present, let go of the past and future, be in the present. Buddha says, even let go of the present, and cross over the farther shore of existence. With mind wholly liberated, you shall come no more to birth and death. For a person tormented by evil thoughts, whose passion dominated and given up to the pursuit of pleasure, his craving steadily grows. He makes the fetter strong indeed. He who delights in subduing evil thoughts, who meditates on the impurities and is ever mindful, it is he who will make an end of craving and render asunder Mara's fetter. He who has reached the goal is fearless, free from craving, passionless, and has plucked out the thorns of existence. For him, this is the last body. He who is free from craving and attachment is perfect in uncovering the true meaning of the teaching, and knows the arrangement of the sacred texts in correct sequence. He indeed is the bearer of this final body. He is truly called the profoundly wise one, the great man. A victor am I over all. All have I known. The gratification, the danger, and the escape. Right? But this is also meaning like everything to do with the senses and the experience of being a being. Right? Literally knows all the experiences, investigated, understood. Yet unattached am I to all that is conquered and known. Abandoning all, I am freed through the destruction of craving. Having thus directly comprehended all by myself, who shall I call my teacher? The gift of Dhamma excels all gift. The taste of Dhamma excels all tastes. The delight in Dhamma excels all delights. The craving freed vanquishes all suffering. Riches ruin only the foolish, not those in quest of the beyond. By craving for riches, the witless man ruins himself as well as others. Weeds are the bane of fields, lust is the bane of mankind. Therefore, what is offered to those free of lust yields abundant fruit. Weeds are the bane of fields, hatred is the bane of mankind. Therefore, what is offered to those free of hatred yields abundant fruit. Weeds are the bane of fields, delusion is the bane of mankind. Therefore, what is offered to those free of delusion yields abundant fruit. Weeds are the bane of fields, desire is the bane of mankind. Therefore, what is offered to those free of desire yields abundant fruit. All right, friends. So we come to the end of another Dhammapalooza. If this is your first Dhammapalooza and you'd like to learn more, you can go to the website listed on the screen, maggaseka.org, maggaseka.org, means Students of the Path. And this is the website that is my headquarters. This is the website that has all the information you need, links to various different things that I do. different teachings. And for those of you who are not aware, for those of you who are regulars, we are doing there is a Dana drive to see if I can start Maggaseka Vihara in Colorado next year. So you can check that by going to the website and looking at the various pages and click on, I believe it's called Rental Dana, something like that. I don't even remember. I'm the one who wrote it. But it's been like a month and a half. But anyway, and so you can check that out. I made a video explaining the plan and what I'm doing, and we go from there. All right, friends. Sukhi Hotu, may you be happy and at ease. Practice well and be well. May you have a spiritually successful and peaceful practice until we meet again, which, if I'm alive, should be next Monday for another morning monastery or another Dhammapalooza. If you want to join tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. New York time, there's morning monastery experience. But until then, practice well and be well. Have a good week.